A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody watching from different parts of the world. Welcome to ICSA Talks. International Center for Strategic Alliances is in fact uh, very happy to announce that we're hosting the fourth edition of Connected Banking South Africa, East Africa, and West Africa. So the fourth edition is in East Africa, formerly known as the Africa Digital Banking Summit, Innovation and Excellence Awards, which is due to take place on the 22nd of September virtually. The summit is themed at accelerating financial inclusion through digital adoption. Today, I have with me a very strong, beautiful, and a very strategic leader that has experience across the world. Now, introducing to you a leader, a technology leader with over 2 decades of industry experience, including ICT, FMCG, and consulting with a focus on developing new business models, growth strategies, and routes to market. Her professional experience includes strategy and operations leadership, brand development, marketing, program management, and technology solutions. She's worked in different parts of the world, including North America, as of today, sitting in Kenya. Uh, Most of the roles that she has worked with in the last 14 years have actually been entrepreneurial, including setting up new teams, bringing new solutions to market, introducing new ways to work, and building the right foundation to scale. Phyllis Migwi is her name. Phyllis is very passionate and active in mentoring and coaching to develop and retain high performing teams. Philip, it is my pleasure to welcome you today to the fourth edition of Connected Banking Innovation and Excellence Awards. Philip Migwi, Country General Manager, Microsoft. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Excited to be here.
Absolute pleasure to have you today. Well, Phyllis, I know that you've worked in different industries, different sectors, different organizations, right? In fact, when I was going through your bio, I was really fascinated with the kind of color you've added to the bio, working with different sectors, uh, technology, making sure that every organization you touched, in fact, being with different leaders in the industry, you've really brought some amazingly good development to the organizations that you've been associated with, and to the teams that you work with. Now, I hope you know that the banking sector in the East Africa is progressing towards becoming a marketplace without boundaries, right? Now, this is by impending entry of new digital players who are challenging the status quo and driving unparalleled levels of innovation, right? Now, technology given is becoming a central factor in the banking and financial services industry, generating new opportunities and contributing to the region's financial sector. Now, financial institutions, obviously, in the last decade have witnessed a very dramatic change, owing to the rising competition, growing customer expectations, innovative compliance regulations, and more. Especially the last year and the year before has also witnessed a drastic acceleration and a shift to cashless digital economy thanks to COVID-19. I don't know how thankful I should be, but yeah, with extraordinary growth in the number of e-payment transactions, I see that Microsoft has played a very important role in you know the development of different sectors technology wise. Now, I'd like to get into small talk, but obviously I have a lot of questions for you, so I'm slowly but very swiftly going to jump into the question I have for you. All right.
Sure.
Uh, I know we are here for you to shed light on some amazingly good things Microsoft is doing, but also I want to understand from you, uh, from Kenya or the whole of East Africa, from the BFSI sector, How is Microsoft actually facilitating FSI players to innovate or let's say streamline and boost customer service efficiencies?
So, Mohammed, as you yourself have said, we're seeing a lot of transformation happening within the African markets. Specifically, I would say FSI is actually leading that digital transformation initiative in the speed at which they are adopting technology. Uh, with regards to specifically what Microsoft is doing, we are working with the majority of our customers to one, help in developing the strategy as they look at what are the customers asking for really, what are the services that the customers want, and how do the customers in the market want to interact with those services. So a lot of what we're seeing when you think about Africa and the fact that our population is significantly young, and because they're young, they adopted technology early, is a bit of pressure on the different industries, not just FSI, but more so FSI, because of the level of interaction, to now provide their services to customers on digital platforms. And we've seen a significant transition with the banks, especially in the East African market, to move into that direction, to be able to meet their customers where their customers want to be met. And for us, that then means partnering with these customers on their digital, with our FSI customers on their digital journey, specific to what solutions can we provide that help them, one, increase the services that they're able to offer, but also improve on the customer experience. Maybe you have personal experiences where you have a request for your bank and you want an instant response. We're no longer in the era where it was okay to have, to send in a request and then it takes a while to come back. We
Absolutely.
want direct interaction and we want information a lot faster. So we are seeing adoption of technology, but on our part, it's making sure that we have the solutions in the market that actually provide empower the companies to be able to deliver what the customers are looking for.
Wonderful. So, what I get out of this is that you are helping clients, right, on their digital journey to efficiently achieve the outcome that they're seeking in terms of accelerating their digital journey. Most importantly, make sure that this is not a time consuming process to the end customer as well, right? Now, so is it safe to assume that you are going to tailor the solutions per the requirement of the client?
So what we typically do is we have, of course, solutions that have been structured to deliver certain outcomes, but implementation for each client looks slightly different. So it
Right.
depends on your internal processes. If you were today a bank that is focused on just the corporates, what your customer journey would look like is significantly different than if you're a retail bank. So making sure that, yes, the solution delivers on certain business outcomes, but specific to your processes, your specific customer journey, we then work with that client to customize it to deliver on the, and call it the specific service delivery KPIs for their kind of customer.
Wonderful. So Microsoft has solutions for everybody. You could be
Absolutely.
a retail bank, you could be an investment bank, whatever kind of an FSI, you have the solutions for it, correct?
Yes.
Now that brings me to my next question, because security plays a very, very key role, especially in financial services. Now that, today, even if you were to order your food, you do it online. You need to know that you are secure enough to be sharing your data, the place where you live, and all of that. But at the same time, talking about security in financial services, you're talking about, your information, your money, right? Uh, in a certain institution that you trust. Now, help me understand. Cybercrime, right, basically continues to pose a great threat to banks, right, and other financial institutions as well. So, how is Microsoft supporting in terms of protection and building defenses for these organizations?
So as Microsoft, we are part of the current zero trust conversation. And let me just explain what zero trust is. Where zero trust is making sure that I start by identifying who's coming into the network, who's looking at what data. So zero trust is actually a policy that you then build your solutions on. Zero trust means you don't access the laptop without, me making sure I have certified or have checked your credentials. So what we're doing with our customers in FSI and across the other industries is making sure that they, one, have the policies and strategy in place to implement that. So we share assets to help them build their internal security strategy, and work with them also in doing cybersecurity assessments, which then would be the foundation to know, have I invested enough, or do I need to invest even further? We then, where there are needs to invest even further, provide solutions that will take care of all interactions with data. So whether it's edge, your devices, or it's at the back end where we're doing processing, are you on the cloud, are you at your physical data center, making sure that the clients are covered end to end.
Wow, so zero trust, huh?
Yes.
We trust nobody. That's very good. Like, making sure this basically your zero trust policy basically is telling people not to trust, but to trust. So basically, you can trust that the zero trust is working for you. Yeah.
It's literally, we have put in place all the policies to make sure that you can trust who's getting into your network, who has access to your data. So if making sure that you've set up, so zero trust just means no one comes into my environment without the right credentials. And even if you're in the environment, if you're not supposed to access certain kinds of data, then I have a mechanism in place to make sure that you don't access anything that you're not supposed to access. So
Wow.
that helps then define, because as you said, FSI, it's banking. So there are different kinds of information that we're now interacting with. And it's no longer just within this context of the bank. It's also the interactions that I have with other apps that have access to my credit card details if I'm ordering food. So how do I make sure the transactions are secure? It's making sure I have the right policies, so transactions only happen based on very clear accreditation.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to do a lot more reading about, your zero trust policy or product solution services that you have. Moving on. Now, I must tell you, Phyllis, this is getting very interesting to me. Every time I talk to a Microsoft executive, right, I end up talking to all the clients that I do on a daily basis from the FSI sector, uh, enlightening more about Microsoft to them, because it's not that I'm trying to promote your product. I don't work for Microsoft clearly, but the products are like so fascinating. Your services are so intact, like so beneficial that if one uses it, it actually generally is word of mouth. Everything went well. I liked what they do, so I'm definitely going to tell other people to use them as well. And that's the best kind of marketing we can get out of as of today, right? Now,
Absolutely.
moving on, I have this question for you. So, how is Microsoft actually partnering with the FSI ecosystem to, let's say, ensure, end-to-end digitization and, let's say, modernization in the financial sector?
So I shared this a bit earlier when I talked about the fact that with each one of our customers, we start by understanding what their strategy is, and where they want to grow towards, what they have in place, and where they should be looking to invest. So that's one side. I think the thing that I could add to that conversation is then the work that we're doing in making sure we have the right skills in the market to help them to actually deliver those solutions and help them continue to leverage that. So that is done, one, through the partners that we have, system integrators who actually help implement those solutions. I'm sure you're aware, in a lot of the markets, we have, yes, the Microsoft teams, but we work and sell through our business partners. So making sure that we are running programs to not just empower our customers, Once they buy the solutions, do they have the skills internally to actually now leverage the investment that they have made? And how do we make sure that they continue to, their teams continue to develop those skills, but also on the partner side to support the deployment, to support the continued growth in that account, providing other extended services. Do our partners also have the capabilities, and are they continuing to grow those capabilities? Because we are all working at the same ecosystem. And on top of that, we also now, as you might be aware, we recently launched the ADC in Nairobi. Now that's an engineering team that is seated here, and our goal is, one, to teach, equip, and work with this engineering team to start to develop the solutions that Microsoft is using around the globe. Now, why is that relevant here? At the ADC, we have a garage, and we're seeing a lot of interest in our customers wanting to actually interact with our solutions, wanting to bring their teams in, their engineering teams, to come in and interact with the solutions, learn about new things, 3D printing that at this point might not seem like the thing that an FSI organization would need. But we're seeing now businesses moving into new areas. The partners that they would be working with are also moving into new areas. So just exposing our ecosystem also to developing new skills is a very key part of what Microsoft is doing. We also have the Africa Transformation Office that is working on programs around skilling. They're working on programs with SME and startups. And for some of our FSI clients, these are some of the other things that we bring to the table that help drive that strategic growth conversation.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, Africa Transformation Office, I'm glad that you brought that up. Commendable job on that one, really. I follow the journey. I'm reading different news articles about what your Africa Transformation Office is doing, how you guys are investing in different startups, helping them grow. So really, giving back to the community, or let's say corporate social responsibility, or lifting each other up. It's clearly you guys are leading the race of making sure that each one helps one. You rise by helping others rise. So very, very, very good job on that. And rightly said. So you said 3D printers, maybe FSIs will not use them at this point in time. Like, who knew FSIs could ever use an ATM? Who knew FSIs could ever use a robot? I walk into a bank, a robot is welcoming me, right? Who knew that today I could just pick up my phone and send money to whoever I want anywhere in the world, right? I mean, I remember the days where I had to walk into a bank, fill in a challan and, like a receipt, and wait in the queue. And they, the teller's looking at you as if, he's already assuming that, oh my God, are you really this guy? Do you really have that kind of money? Like, I don't see it with your clothes. So all of this, the entire process is eliminated, which is a very beautiful thing, right? So, yeah, like you said, including your ADC team, uh, yes, very, very good job on that. And can't wait to see what FSI will do with 3D printers as well. Now, having said, whatever you just mentioned, and I am actually personally taking back a lot. Uh, Help me understand, how can tech companies such as Microsoft, like, uh, support financial inclusion across the continent? See, you're supporting startups come up, you're supporting engineers learn more, different things. But what is it that Microsoft or organizations like Microsoft are doing in specific, to accelerate the process of financial inclusion across the region?
I think I'd look at that from a couple of different directions.
Mm-hmm.
One, there is partnering with existing financial institutions, the banks that have reach, and maybe telcos that are also interested in that space to actually drive financial inclusion initiatives. based on the different things. And of course, with the Kenya situation, which is where I'm bringing in telcos, is the fact that we've really seen a significant growth, in fact, faster growth within the mobile money space than we've seen the uptake of, opening new bank accounts or getting credit cards. So there is, that has forced a new motion the last I'd say maybe 10 years, where banks are really now focused on how do we get to those consumers as they continue to adopt, as mobile phone access continues to increase within the country. So there is that motion, and making sure that we provide the solutions that then actually support financial institutions, telcos being able to deliver that. On the other side is we have a lot, and if you look at the entrepreneurial environment within Africa, within East Africa to be specific, there's a lot of the organizations, the entrepreneurs that are coming up that are focused on fintechs. Let me call them fintechs. They're focused on financial inclusion. So for these fintechs, do they have the right solutions? And considering that they are at early stage, it's companies that are starting up as compared to the banks, how do we make sure they still can access the resources and the solutions they need to be able to build and take their solutions to market at a cost that is going to actually enable them to lay the foundation and scale afterwards? So that is where, again, program like what I mentioned with our Africa Transformation Office, the SMEs and startups comes in, where we now look at what are the industries that we would actually partner with, and one of those has been FSI.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, rightly brought up mobile money and fintechs. I see there is a huge development in the continent. In fact, an article that I was reading yesterday said that Africa is a continent that you should watch out for in terms of new tech companies and new fintech companies, to be precise, right? And there are so many leaders in fintech leaders from Africa, especially the likes of Flutterwave and so, that are really changing the whole dynamics of how banking used to be once upon a time, right? And MTN's mobile money solutions, or any telco for that matter, I see that they're bringing in a lot to the table, which is definitely something that is highly appreciated. And like you said, these are good ways of tackling financial inclusion, especially if Microsoft's working with so many other people to make this I would rather say dream come true, because I remember the first time we did this event, I think about 4 years ago. Not the first time we did this event, but about 4 years ago, I was in conversation with the governor for Central Bank of Ghana whilst I was in Ghana, and there were several other banking leaders that were a part of that particular event. And I had heard one of them say that 70%, 70+% of the African population was unbanked. And today, if you notice, most of them are coming, like even if somebody does not have internet access on their phone, like living in a remote village with a, let's say, basic CDMA phone, they still are able to do their banking transactions without even going to the bank. So that is an achievement, yeah, a job well done. So now, you also brought up specifically with the Kenya situation. You mentioned the sentence, right? What are some of the major challenges hindering Kenya in specific, and let's say Africa, from becoming a complete or full digital economy? And how is Microsoft addressing these issues?
So if I had to narrow down on specific challenges, I would actually pick two. So right now, the big story, and it's been a big story for a while, is that within the African continent, we have significant mobile telephony penetration. So that is what has allowed us to kind of leapfrog with the mobile money and a lot of what we're doing in that space. Kenya specifically, the growth has been that. But we still have, for us to really expand and make sure everyone is covered, we do need to still handle some of the connectivity challenges that we have, and make sure that we are actually able to reach all areas. And that is a conversation that then extends not just Kenya, but also areas outside of Kenya. Because you see, yes, it's nice that I can do the transactions on the phone, but remember, I talked about not just the telcos, but also the banks. So am I able, what is the kind of connectivity I need to have so that I have that seamless interaction, the same experience I would have in a very well-connected area within any of the African cities is the same one I have when I go outside of the big cities. The second thing is skill. So we have significant mobile telephony penetration, but then for us to really fully leverage this technology, because it's technology just like any other, do we have all the digital skills? So a lot of what we're seeing, especially as you now move into the smartphones or feature phones, is we're able to now increase the services that can be offered through the phones. And as I said before, banks are also looking to reach that customer who prefers the interaction through the phone. But does that customer fully have the digital skills that enable them to leverage everything? So I'd say skilling is the other thing, and especially as we talk about the young population that is in Africa and the need to drive entrepreneurship, because that, for me, you can't really have the financial inclusion conversation without thinking about all the entrepreneurship that's happening in this market and how we actually support those entrepreneurs to fully leverage both the financial services and the telco environment.
Right. Okay. So skilling, I understand you mean digital literacy. So, you
Digital
know,
literacy, yes.
perfect. Okay. Because I remember hearing this term about, I think 6 months ago, I was interviewing one of the Microsoft executives only. And when I heard digital literacy, it was really confusing to me. But then when he very nicely explained to me, Mr. Ahmad Yayui, that's when I understood. I said, oh, okay. So yeah, and so these are the challenges that or Africa or Kenya as a region is facing in terms of becoming a fully digital economy. You think the regulatory favorable regulatory practices also help? Like if you have good you know, governments that are walking towards development and helping, making every rule or policy laid down very, very favorable also helps.
Absolutely. And what we've seen is governments are willing to have the conversation. Uh, the thing with technology, we have this situation where a lot of the time technology is moving faster than we can actually create the policies. So the other conversation that is ongoing, and this is not, I'd say it's not just a Microsoft conversation, it's across with all the tech, global tech companies, is how then do we partner in the markets where we are operating with government to make sure that we are supporting the legislation that they need to have. So you yourself talked about having a conversation with the governor in the Central Bank of Ghana. There are some of those things that we are actively, through our Africa Transformation Office, through my office as Microsoft Kenya country manager, having the conversations to just together walk the journey of what is required so that we can all actually facilitate what's required in the financial inclusion conversation. So the kinds of partnerships that would happen with telcos, what are the challenges there, what regulation do we need? The other conversation that is on the table, and I'm sure you've
Clearly.
noticed this across with all governments, is this digital transformation actually requires that there will be an adoption of the hybrid cloud environments, because that's actually the easier motion for these entrepreneurs as you're growing. For the fintech companies, quite a few of them are born in the cloud. So we're seeing regulators also starting to work towards towards what are the policies that need to be in place to actually facilitate these kinds of entrepreneurs for us to be able to provide the services. So we do have, we do know of ongoing conversations just around the cloud, and it's some of the issues you raised before. Where does data sit? What the security measures that the companies would be able to provide? So every country sort of defining what they want with regards to data residency and what works to actually drive the growth that they want to see in their markets.
No, I understand. See, since you remembered that I mentioned the governor for Central Bank of Ghana, his name's Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Ofari. Uh, Not just him, I've sat with a lot of policymakers like Dr. Honorable Solomon in Adelu. He's an engineer as well. Uh, Her Excellency Ms. Aisha Ahmad, who's the Deputy Governor for Central Bank of Nigeria. These are all policymakers paving ways and making favorable policies that help technology organizations uh, build their economies, basically leveraging what you have in order to make sure that they're growing. So, well, thank you so much for a very good deep dive into the challenges that that are hindering basically Kenya and Africa from becoming a fully digital economy. Now, help me understand how can FSI industry players leverage cloud to boost their growth in revenue as well as operations capacity. See, I understand you are very, very busy, taking a lot of time of yours, but these are questions that I really made a note of in order to make sure that we shed light on all details, just to make sure that we send across a right message and everything that you guys do. So, how can FSI industry players leverage cloud to boost their growth in revenue as well as their operations capacity?
So I'll take it from this perspective. What are the challenges that you know of in the FSI industry? And in fact, the most common one that you probably hear is to drive profitability, they need to review costs on an annual basis. So review the kinds of investment they're making, make sure that whatever they're investing in actually has, is something that they're going to be using long term. So they're able to leverage it for a long time, higher return on investment, and that they're able to scale. That's on the cost side. On the services side, and I mentioned this earlier, the customers are demanding more. So you need to deploy a lot faster. You need to scale. Today, you might introduce a service and you have 10,000 users. The more people get to know about it, as you talked about word of mouth, it's a nice service. Suddenly, you can have spikes. And if you think about how FSI used to invest in technology before, I have a data center, I have bought some machines, I have the processing power, I have the storage power, and now I can deploy my services. It's not easy to scale in that regard, because then when I'm out of capacity, I have to order and wait for delivery. That's the difference that cloud brings. With cloud, Mohammed, if you and I are in a team internally and we worked with the stakeholders and we have deployed a new service and we send it out to our customers and they love it, and tomorrow I move from 10,000 users on the platform to suddenly I have 100,000, I'm able to switch on additional capabilities a lot faster than I would. So that ability to scale is for me the biggest value proposition for FSI to leverage cloud.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. You know, I see that the cloud actually is supporting a lot of organizations, especially like we discussed earlier, even in terms of security as well. So also, since you mentioned, customers are evolving quickly, like, their demands are changing by the day. Uh, just to add a fun fact here, I blame certain apps where you have to push every video in 10 seconds. Like, my God, you're losing interest in anything within 10 seconds. I'm call me old school, but you need to learn things, be able to enjoy it, completely, get used to it and then get over it. Not in 10 seconds, you can't get
But
there.
Mohammed, you're literally the minority. If you see part of the pressure in engaging with a youthful generation, the new group of consumers is one, I want very quick responses. Two, everything needs to be bite-sized information. So even with our FSI, for them to really engage, whatever they're sharing with their customers, the information needs to be bite-sized. So
Yes,
we're
yes.
seeing that's the reason we've seen Instagram, TikTok really grow, because that, even with learning now, you're having to think through. And maybe this is one of the conversations, even with financial inclusion, when we think of financial literacy, is can we actually move to the place of a 3-minute video that gives me exactly what I need and drives the kind of conversation. So with the attention span reduced to that much and needing to have higher impact within a very short space, my
Yeah,
service experience has to be extraordinary. Otherwise, I
absolutely.
lose it. I lose
Yeah,
my customer to the next bank
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
next
yeah.
insurance firm.
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, uh, you are now not only under the pressure of clutching the whole experience of hours into minutes, but at the same time, you have to be so creative enough that you're amazingly good at customer experience as well. This guy not only has to finish the entire process in 2 minutes, but he has to be really satisfied about that as well. So, oh, very challenging, you guys, but all the best, right? Moving on. Uh, I think I had two more questions for you. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is data management. Since we spoke about cloud, we spoke about security, right? Data management is a key component today, not only for an organization or an industry like FSI, but for an entire economy, right? Data management being one of the key components. How is Microsoft supporting FSI businesses in data privacy or data sovereignty or data residency? You know, what is it that you're doing to uphold, the sanctity of data?
Yeah. Obviously, we have solutions in place that we categorize as data and AI. And that space would be both whether the data is on premise or it's on the cloud, if you're using our cloud. But I'll go back again to the policy conversation. So we have the solutions, but solutions don't work on their own. For each organization, there will be specific ways that they need to do data, to handle data. So FSI has regulation around it. And so the deployment of our solutions, our data solutions for storage, our data solutions for the transmission of that data, our solutions for even the analysis of how we process the data, uh, all that would be guided by the policies, the industry practices, and the specific policy that that organization has put in place. So what again we do is work with the FSI to actually go through one, the solutions that we have, which do meet banking industry standard, and then how do you want this deployed based on now the specific country regulation. You talked about regulation. Now, Kenya, right now, the conversation across the board is that we now have a data regulation, and we need to make sure that we're compliant and we're supportive of the organizations that we work with. So we are working with our key customers who have been using our solutions to see, are they fully set up for now the changes that are coming with the new regulation, and also getting them to understand that our solutions actually were ready for this kind of regulation based on what we've done in other markets. So Kenya has just now fully adopted this, but for Microsoft, working with other regions, Europe, from the time they kicked up the GDPR regulation, we'd already started to put these data principles in place. So Microsoft, at the place where we are collecting data, we communicate clearly how we handle any data that we have internally with our customers. So it's very transparent. And also where we are working with business partners, we are clear with them what kind of data we would be collecting and how that data is managed.
Wonderful. Okay. So you have a complete cycle that is taken care of, making sure that it's 100% secure.
Yes.
Well, congratulations. I forgot to mention, congratulations. I see that Kenya now has a new president. So
Yes, we do.
congratulations on that.
So
A
I'll
new
probably be answering the same questions I'm answering to you when I get to sit in front of him and his team.
Wonderful. I mean, you can just send him the interview and he will know what a great job you guys are doing. Really. Well, I'm going to quickly bring this to an end, but one last question before we do that. Uh,
Sure.
what can we, you know, I, as an admirer of Microsoft and a consumer of Microsoft products, what can we look forward to as Africa, right? Uh, don't go by my looks. I'm an African by heart. I have lived in the continent for as long as you can remember, one of the most beautiful places to live on. So, speaking on behalf of my people, what can we look forward to as Africa from Microsoft in the near future?
Well, I think the
I think
promise right
definitely the
now
president is
by
listening to
Microsoft
you as well.
is that we intend to actually live our mission, which is empowering every individual, every organization, whatever part of the world they're in, to do more. So you see that in the investments that we've made. I talked about the Africa Development Center that is in Nairobi. We have another one in Nigeria. I talked about the Africa Transformation Office that is doing programs across all the countries in Africa, working with different key partners in the different regions, and working not just from the perspective of skilling that I talked about earlier, or SME and startup. We are also looking at strategic partnerships with large organizations that are driving growth or are focused on growth on the continent. We're also looking at the digital infrastructure piece. So I talked about connectivity as one, but there's other infrastructure that's required for the digital transformation of Africa. So what can everyone look forward to? What can our partners look forward to? What can our customers look forward to? It's a Microsoft that recognizes that Africa is the fastest growing economy, and a Microsoft that recognizes the investment opportunity that is available within the market, and one that wants to partner to actually bring that growth into the market.
Very well said. Very, very well said. Well, suddenly I feel indebted to Microsoft. But really, with your ADC team, both in Nigeria and Nairobi, your African, transformation center, you know, from if I'm trying to revisit the conversation that we started, that we began with, in terms of understanding the requirement of your clients and helping them tailor specific needs that you already have, but in terms of execution, it's a little different to each client depending on what they want. Moving on to your zero trust policy, and then further moving on to, obviously, like I mentioned, the ADC teams and the Africa Transformation Center, uh, and about how you guys are doing several things in terms of digital literacy, trying to bring people back to or rather trying to introduce people to financial. It's basically like their right to basic of necessities, like having a bank account should be like a right to everyone. It's not an option anymore, right? And how you are doing everything to make sure that even as little as the attention span can get, uh, you guys are still doing everything in your capacity. Most importantly, I like how you concluded by saying people can look forward to a Microsoft that is invested in Africa, right? That is doing everything in their capacity to recognize that this is one of the fastest growing economy, fastest growing continent. So thank you so much, Phyllis. It was an absolute treat to speak to you. Very, very, very interesting conversation. I, for one, personally have learned a lot. So I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your absolute busy schedule. A leader is always, I don't know, this is what I personally feel. A leader is somebody that is always ready to share what they've learned over their decades of experience. you know uh, and most importantly, a leader is somebody who's like a sunshine on a rainy day, right? And talking to you, understanding what you guys are doing, uh, the color seems brighter, right? And I'm
You.
very happy to having gotten the time to talk to you. So thank you very much for coming here today. I look forward to see you soon uh, at the Connected Banking Summit on the 22nd of September, where you will obviously be presenting to hundreds and hundreds of people, who are going to be joining the summit from across the globe. So thank you for your time. Absolute pleasure talking. Have a lovely evening ahead.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. You have a great rest of your day too.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.